Hey everyone, welcome to the MREA Mastermind Video Book Club, session number 9. Today we're talking about the MREA Organizational Model, pages 196 through 216 in the MREA book. Now, as we get going here today, I'm going to have you guys get out your MREA book, something to write with, write on, and a highlighter. And let's go ahead and jump into our discussion on what likely is one of the most popular models in the book. Now, I say it's the most popular. It's also probably one of the most misunderstood. Now, it's most popular because everyone wants to look good and be right. That's human nature. And what we also know is people in real estate specifically think that the bigger our team is, the better we look. And in reality, if you guys know a lot of agents who have a really big team agent count-wise, maybe even have a big team agent count and production-wise, and yet at the end of the year, they have no money to show for it. They're broke. Now, I don't know about you, but I didn't get into this business to be broke. I didn't get into this business to pay a bunch of other people and not pay myself. I got into this business to change my life while also changing other people's lives. That's why we're in this business. That's probably why you're watching this video, and that's what we're going to dive into today. So if you would open your books, page 196, guys, we're going to go ahead and get right into the meat of this call. Now, here's what we know. On 196, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent Organizational Model. So again, remember, previous session, you guys can see the link to it right up here. Previous session, we went through the organizational model just as a whole, a top of a flyover view. And today we're looking at the MREA Organizational Model, and this really zooms in down to the granular level for what does this model look like practically for someone building a team of this scale, scope, and size. Now look what he says here, page 196 towards the top. He says the organizational model of the MREA identifies a division of labor and the assignment of responsibility among your current and future staff. Now I want you guys to take a note here, underlined current and future. What I love about how they wrote this book, I love the fact that they're not just thinking about where you're at today, they're thinking about where do you want to be 2, 5, 10 years from today. And so as we're thinking through and building our business, we're always asking ourselves the question, and we're always thinking through not just where am I at today, but where do I want to be tomorrow? Where do I want to be in 5 years and 10 years? And so that's what he's talking about. We're going to actually map out. This model allows you to map out all the staff members for your organization and on your team, years maybe before you actually hire those people. But we get to create the roadmap that helps us make that possible. Now he says further down there, for a real estate sales business, there are 3 distinct areas of staffing. Guys, this is big. There are 3 buckets. The first one is administrative. Administrative, he says this, he says marketing and administrative manager, transaction coordinator, listing manager, telemarketer, lead coordinator, assistant, runner, etc. Assistant or administrative roles play a huge part in your organization, and we're going to talk more about that. They could be the most important. We'll talk more about that. The second in that list is buyer. Buyer bucket of staffing. It says lead buyer specialist, showing agents, etc. And then, of course, 3 is seller. Lead listing specialist and other listing specialists. Now, what we also know, he goes further down there to say, and this is the key, 2 sentences underneath that seller portion, administrative help is at the heart of the organizational model of the MREA agent. Only after a solid administrative staff is in place do we begin to even think about hiring buyer and seller help. Let's read that one more time. Only after a solid administrative staff is in place do we even begin to think about hiring buyer and seller help. Guys, if you don't circled and highlighted in your book, you're going to be making a big mistake. And here's why I say that. In 14 years of working with agents in their business and growing teams, growing their own sales business, helping them hire people, the number one area where I've seen all of them, not almost all of them that I've worked with in the past, 2 different companies, very large organizations, very large local offices, lots of agents, they all make the same. Gary talks about it as we're going to get into a little bit more, but they all want to jump and hire sales staff first. They all want to hire that buyer's agent first, as if having a buyer's agent gives them some sense of credibility and validity. It's as if having that buyer's agent makes them feel better about themselves and their team. And in reality, Gary's saying you don't even get the right to think about hiring those people until you've made really good hires on the administrative side. Now, we're going to talk more about that. Guys, I can tell you right now, until you have a good admin, nothing else matters. Just like in your business, until you have enough leads, nothing else matters. When it comes to the operations side of your business, until you have a good administrative assistant, good administrative help, nothing else matters. And you've seen this. Think right now. Just stop for a second. You can put your book down. Think right now. You've seen agents and teams in your market centers. You've seen these teams that hire people. They get buyer's agents. They have a little bit of success. And then the team folds and implodes and everybody leaves. And then they hire some more buyer's agents and some more sales staff. And they do well for a little bit. And then everybody leaves. Guys, and it's just this constant up and down, up and down, up and down. And I've coached a lot of these people when they're at the end of their ropes. And it's exhausting and it's frustrating and it's expensive. And they're feeling all of those emotions because they cannot seem to figure out what's going wrong. And in almost every one of those examples that I've personally been a part of, the number one most common thing was they skipped hiring an administrative assistant. They went straight from being themselves. Remember, Gary said, if you don't have a maid, you are one. If you don't have a lawnmower guy, you are the lawnmower guy. You are everything in that first stage of the business. And they jumped from that to hiring a buyer's agent quickly. And they skipped the administrative help. So they get these salespeople, these entrepreneurs, these people who are very much like you and me. And they get this team of these people going. And that's great. They go out, they're hunter-gatherers. They're out killing things, dragging them back, killing things, dragging them back. The only problem is you got a pile of dead things in your office that no one is attending to because you skipped that step. You skipped the person whose biggest strength is processing what others bring back. And so as a result, over time, those buyer's agents, those very agents that you hired in this example, they look around and they go, why am I doing this? I'll just go do this on my own. When if we have incredible, exceptional, huge talent administrative help that they're bringing stuff back to be able to round out those buyer's agents, fill in their gaps, be the strengths that they don't naturally have. Guys, when we have that environment, we have agents that don't leave. Until we have that environment, your team will be a revolving door. That's why this is so important if you're going to build a team. Now, look on page 197. Now, there's a couple of these figures that I'm going to tell you. If you're building a team or you're considering building one, you should photocopy some of these figures, and I'll tell you which ones. And if it's me, I'm going to have them posted right where I do work every single day. Because I want this progressive, regular, consistent reminder of where I'm at in the process, where I'm going next, where I'm at in the process, and where I'm going next. And figure 42 on page 197, well, guys, that's one of them. Because this shows you the organizational structure or the organizational chart of what your best scenario looks like, what you should be building towards. Now, this doesn't mean you're going to do this in a year. What this does, though, is this begins to give us the roadmap of our missing persons. Who are we missing? Who do we have seats for that we don't yet have filled? Because here's what I also know, and Gary talks about this in the book. If you've taken any classes on hiring people or leading people, one of my favorites that's not taught anymore was the Recruit Select series. And in Recruit Select, they talked about the fact that you are always hunting for talent. Now, there's a really good course out now that took its place called Career Visioning. Either way, both of these courses are telling you the same thing, that as a business owner, your job, the one job that you never, ever, ever get to give up is talent acquisition. You as the owner are always on the lookout for incredible talent. You always are looking for incredible talent. And we're going to talk more about that in this book too. But if I don't know what positions I'm looking for, I could miss people that are incredible talent for those positions, and they could walk right in front of me and be hired by somebody else. So having this roadmap, knowing who I'm looking for, in what stage, in what order, allows me to train my mind to look for those skill sets and people that are probably all around me. Now, at the bottom of 197, he says this, but the encouraging revelation many agents come to is that you could be just three, underline three, exceptional hires away from having a business of a millionaire real estate agent. Now, Some of you right now are going, oh yeah, 3 hires. Sure, right, it's that simple. He didn't say it's simple. What he's saying is you could be 3 exceptional hires away from having everything in place you need to get to the 7th level of the MREA. Guys, this is how important your organizational model is to your company. If you want to build this bigger than just you, if you want this to run at a level much more than you could ever do on your own, you have to. You simply must surround yourself with incredible talent. Now, page 198, the hiring path of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Now, the most common question that I get when I'm coaching agents is, when is the right time to hire? When is the right time to hire? It doesn't matter what position, what bucket of staffing that we're talking about, that they're talking about. The question is when. How do I know when the right time is to hire? Now, we're going to talk about that. So let's look at this, and then on subsequently the next page, we'll go deeper here. Here's what he says, top of 198. So many agents make the mistake of seeking sales support first, usually buyer's agents, right? We're all on the same page here. We just talked about that. Salespeople are not by and large particularly talented at creating and implementing systems. What he's saying is people who are naturally gifted in selling and those entrepreneurs are not naturally the ones that are going to have the knack for building systems in the operations side of the business. Again, remember what we talked about just a few minutes ago. You can't have an army of hunter-gatherers if no one's back at the home base cleaning and processing what's being brought back. At some point, we have a room full of a mess, right? We have to have both strengths present on our team if we want this thing to scale and grow. Further down on 198, he says this, an agent should hire first administrative help. This allows the agent to focus, underline this, on more dollar-productive sales activities such as lead generation, buyer appointments, and listing appointments. Guys, it's the 80-20 principle, which we've talked about in earlier sessions in this video, in this series. The 80-20 principle is there are always things that are screaming for our time. On one side, we have the things that are the 80% activities, meaning they are the things that only, if we do these, they only get us 20% of our results. Now, over here, we have the 20% activities, and these activities are the most important activities, meaning that these activities, these 20% activities, get us 80% of our results at the end of the year. And so hiring an administrative help means you're getting off of your plate a lot of those 80% activities, the paperwork, the process, the stuff that does not allow you to earn money. They're not dollar productive activities. Having somebody that you can hand that to, who likely is better at it than you are, frees up your time and allows you to focus your energy, efforts, and talents in the 20% activities that are dollar productive. Now he goes on to say there, the idea is eventually to reach a point where you are wholly focused on lead generation, listing, and selling, while your administrative team handles everything else in your business. Only after reaching that point, underline those words, only after reaching that point. When you find you have more sales-oriented work than you can handle alone, do you add staff for sales? Specifically a buyer specialist to handle many of the time-consuming tasks and processes of working with buyers. Here's the idea, guys, and we're going to talk more about this in a little bit. The administrative staff hire is first for a lot of reasons, which we'll get into in just a second. But the reason we do it that way is you, as the sales professional, offloading the stuff that's non-sales to somebody that is a fixed cost allows you to increase the sales and revenue of the company, which gives you and the company more money to be able to hire more leverage, to build more systems, to be prepared for an army of those buyer and listing agents, the hunter-gatherers, the salespeople who are going to really help our business explode when it comes to numbers. Now, let's keep going. A little further down there. By getting help in the selling side, you could increasingly devote your attention to the two most important sales activities in your model, leads and listings. We've talked about that. Bottom line, you're getting to pare down what you're spending your time, energy, and talent and efforts on to just what matters most. Now, at the bottom of 198, in the end, you'll need a talented lead buyer specialist who will eventually manage other buyer specialists and showing assistants, and key, hold them accountable to the goals of the business. Now, this is big, guys, and we won't have time to go all the way deep into this. But in a coaching relationship with agents, we spend sometimes weeks here. On that one sentence, sometimes we spend weeks. And here's what I mean. Your lead buyer specialist, they can't just be somebody who's really good at selling. They can't just be somebody who has a really good conversion rate. They cannot just be someone who everybody loves and has a ton of charisma. That's an important component of the position. However, look at the last part of that sentence on the top of 199. This is key, guys. Will eventually manage your other buyer specialists and showing assistants and hold them accountable to the goals of the business. Couple keys there. First, they will manage the other buyer specialists. Just because somebody is a great salesperson does not mean that they are a great people manager or leader. I don't even like the word manage, but you know what he's saying here. Just because somebody has charisma and talent in sales does not mean a darn thing in relation to how well or effective they would be at leading a team of people. So as we're looking for this position, first, of course, we want to see results. That's the first thing. That's the most important thing that gets them on the list of being a contender for this role when it's the right time for your business. Do they have a track record of success in sales? Yes. Second thing I would look for if I'm you, do they have a track record of leading through others? Now, if they don't, it doesn't mean they're not the right person or they're not capable of doing the job. It may just mean you want to work in with them a growth plan that gets them leadership training, that gets them training in those areas that maybe they don't have a lot of experience in yet. The good news is they can learn. The great news is if you're looking at this stuff ahead of time, you have plenty of time to groom these people and grow the skill sets to make them who the business needs them to be. So the second thing is, do they have a track record of leading other people? Now here, just side note, caveat, here's what we also know, and I've seen this time and time again. Somebody's a great salesperson, great track record of success. And they say all the right things, and people like them, and so they'll follow them to a point because they like what they've done. They like the results they've achieved. However, we also, the third thing I look for in somebody is humility. Because, guys, you understand that leadership means we have to win through people. We can't win around them. And so if I'm going to find somebody that's going to lead, inspire, and drive a team of buyer specialists and hold them accountable, which is the other part of that sentence that's hugely important. They're going to lead, motivate, and drive them while holding them accountable to the goals of the business. I have to find somebody that wants to win through people. I have to find somebody that can check their ego at the door. I have to find somebody that wants the people on their team to win more than they want themselves to win. Somebody that understands, like Zig Ziglar said, that they can get everything they want if they help enough other people get what they want. That's who I'm looking for in that role. So I need to start that process now because I need to be evaluating. If I'm the team owner, I need to be watching very closely. I need to be having great one-on-one conversations. I need to be coming up with growth plans for people who I think are good, strong candidates for the lead buyer specialist role that I may not have today, but I know I'm going to want at some point. Start now. Start looking through that lens. Don't say anything to them about what you're doing, but you're going to see talent in your organization. And I encourage you to start having those conversations, start having those one-on-ones, start observing and seeing what you see in how they operate and how they show up, and then start a growth plan with those people if you think they have potential to fill a leadership position in your organization. Now, top of 199 again, the actual first full paragraph. The next step in your organizational growth will probably be to add more administrative infrastructure if it's not already in place. Your marketing and administrative manager, who may have been your very first hire, that's a key, underline that, is now managing your entire administrative team. Again, here we see this pop up again, guys. Here we see it again. This is why these hires are so crucial, because when you make the right hire, these people have the ability to be with you for a long time. These people have the ability to be with you for a long, long time, and these people have the ability to become leaders in your organization, and they become your wealth determiners. Be careful when you're hiring these people. Go through the process. Don't shortcut. Do not hire an emotion. Hire people well. These three positions are huge. Next, these hires are added incrementally and in proportion to your sales growth. Underline that sentence. These hires are added incrementally and in proportion to your sales growth. This is not a sandlot situation where you decide that you're just going to run out and play street ball, right? We have to be professionals here, right? Think of Field of Dreams. This is not a Field of Dreams thing either, where it's you build it and they will come. We do it in proportion to the sales growth of the organization. Sounds a lot like red light, green light, which we talked about before. It comes up earlier in MREA. We let the business tell us when it's time to hire these people. Now, how do we do that? Practically speaking, how do we know when it's the right time to add team members? How do we know when it's the right time to hire people? Guys, the answer is really, really simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. If you are literally running your business as the model says you should be, and you have a budget, and you know your numbers, your business will tell you when it's the right time. What I mean by that is when you come to me or whoever is coaching and you say, hey, when is it the right time to add this position in my organization? My response always is, when does the business tell you it's okay? What I mean by that is take in the compensation you would pay that person, put it into your budget, and see what that number does to your budget. How does it affect that category from the budget model? How does it affect that category percentage? Remember, Gary gave us targets in the budget model. He told us what our budget model should say. Guys, look back with me. This is impromptu. Page 193, here, right here. Page 193, he gives us the percentages. So how do I know when it's the right time? I know it's the right time to hire when I can take what I would be compensating that person, I can put it into my budget model, and when even in doing that, I'm still within the percentage guidelines of where I should be for that category in my budget. Now, red light, green light says if I do that exercise and I'm still within my guidelines of where I should be as a percentage of my GCI, the business is telling me green light, go hire that person or hire that position. If not, the business is telling me it's not yet. It's not saying never, it's saying not yet. And the beauty of all of this, guys, if you get a not yet answer from your business, if you put in the salary and the compensation, and the business comes back and says not yet, you're going to know exactly, based on the model and the percentages, you're going to know exactly what your business needs to increase in revenue to be able to make that a green light decision. Now all you have to do is come up with a plan on how to increase revenue by that amount of money, and it's green light time. Do you see how this works? This is the beauty of running your business on models and systems, because the business will always tell you what it is you need to know. The business will always tell you when it's the right time. The biggest problem is most agents aren't running a business like a business person. They don't know their numbers, and they're not asking their business when it's the right time. So I want to challenge you there. Look at the bottom of 199. He says, when you find that you still have more seller listings than you can handle alone, then you'll hire a listing specialist. Now, yes, in the model, the listing specialist is one of the last hires, and we'll talk more about that in just a second. Now on page 200, figure 43. This is a great quick reference. I had this up when I was building teams right here. Really great quick reference showing you by position bullet points for you really driver dominant people who don't like to take a ton of time on something. This is a great cheat sheet or reference sheet or whatever you want to call it to just scan through. It's the basic job description, the basic or the most important 4 or 5 functions for each role in the organization. Now page 201, towards the top, he says this: to get a little more clarity on the roles each of these people will play in your MREA business, look at the abbreviated job descriptions, which we just talked about, right here. This just is an exercise to give you clarity. Who are we looking for? What is the role going to do? Now, further down, about halfway down 201, he says this: when you're ready to step out of your business, and we're going to come to this one because this is big. When you're ready to step out of your business and let someone else take over, your future CEO will come from the front or middle office personnel. This individual must be an active part of your lead generation machine, because this is where the power of the company comes from. So you will first add administrative help, then staff for selling, and lastly, bringing in someone to help you with the seller side of the business. Now, we're going to talk about the 7th level. Another common mistake, another common issue that's caused by people taking part of this book, part of these models and systems, and running with them without being fully aware of how they all work. Another mistake is people have the feeling that at the 7th level, they can just say, peace out, Cub Scout, and go sit on a beach. And what we know is, more times than not, when agents take that approach and they fully just check out of the business, their business crumbles. Their business crumbles. Almost every time I've seen it happen, the business crumbles. So what I want you to hear clearly is this. When you get to the 7th level, it doesn't mean you're not involved in the business. It just means at what level you're involved. Gary's not referencing that you're completely checked out. He's pointing to the fact that you get to work on the business. You're no longer working in it. But you still know your numbers. You're still communicating with your key leaders. Guys, here's an example, and it doesn't matter what company you're with. Gary Keller is a great example. Largest real estate company in the world. If anyone has the right, the opportunity, the means, and the green light from his business to say, you've earned it, you can go sit on a beach somewhere the rest of your days. You can go do whatever the heck you want to do. If anyone has earned that, it would be him. And here's what I know. That guy still goes to work every single day. Every single day. Now, operationally, are all those daily decisions being made by him? Absolutely not. He's got a circle of 5 people that he surrounds himself with. Everything else gets handled by those people. Gary still comes into work every single day, but he's working on the business, no longer working in the day-to-day. That's what he's talking about, the 7th level here. It does not mean fully checking out and just collecting a check and just hanging loose on a beach somewhere. What he's talking about is you get to shift your focus and perspective and energy to working on the business, no longer working in it. And also a key point, that is the last transition that we make. Now, further down there, he says this. Figure 44, which is on page 202, which is we're going to get to next, shows how your organization might grow following the organizational model of the MREA agent. The 7th level in figure 44 is a kind of nirvana. Again, here's what we're talking about. For the business person, it represents the place where you can actually step out of the business and start earning passive business income. Later in Receive a Million, we'll discuss in greater detail the process of transitioning your business to the 7th level. So we're not going to get into it today, but just hear me clearly. The 7th level does not mean completely checked out. Now, look on page 202 with me. This is probably out of all the MREA books that I've had, and this is my 3rd version because the first one I broke the binding on. This is probably the most referenced sheet in terms of helping people build businesses. So this would be another one of the sheets that I would have photocopied and posted at my place of work if I'm you and I'm wanting to build a business or a bigger organization with more people than just myself. Now, the reason this is powerful is this. This is your roadmap. You're going to see he lines out all 7 levels. All 7 levels. And he separates it by administrative and sales. So again, just like we've been talking about, he breaks out the path and who we hire. What you're going to see is level 1. Again, we're on page 202, guys. Look at this with me. It's going to be hard to see on the screen. Level 1. You're both things. You are the sales and marketing and the admin. It's you. It's you. If you don't have a maid, you are one, he says. This is you. You are all things to all people. You're wearing all hats. Now, at the 2nd level, you go to your first assistant. And I said we're going to talk more in depth about this. The reason that the assistant, or one of the reasons that the assistant is the first hire is this. Your assistant is a fixed expense. Meaning the way we compensate real estate assistants, by and large, is a salary or an hourly rate. It's a fixed expense. It's not variable. You understand that a salesperson being paid commission, that's a variable expense. Now, as the business grows, we would much rather have more variable expense versus fixed expense. We want to keep fixed expense at the lowest possible rate we could, because variable, as the business grows or business does better, those people make more. When the business doesn't, there's not the same liability for the business to pay those people. So hear me clearly. We're talking about 2nd level. The reason that first hire, one of the reasons that first hire is an administrative person is because their expense is fixed. And the whole process here, levels 1 through 4, level 1 through 5, you, as you're working down this ladder or up the ladder, however you want to look at it, as you're working down this, you are increasing the revenue of the company to be able to afford sales leverage, salespeople leverage. You understand that the reason a lot of these people, like I talked about, have a challenge when they skip level 2 and try to go straight to level 4, part of the biggest reason they have a challenge is because the sales volume of the business has not grown enough to be able to support an additional salesperson without it taking money out of the team owner or the rainmaker's pocket. You understand that levels 2 and 3, what you're doing is you are keeping your expenses, your monthly fixed expenses, relatively low, And at the same time, those people are freeing up a ton of your time to focus on sales and money-making activity, dollar productive activity. So literally from levels 2 to 3, your business could double or triple because you're spending 80% of your time in your top 20%. You're spending 80% of your time doing what you do best and what makes you the most amount of money. And all the other detailed stuff is being handled by somebody else. So your business is growing. You have the revenue to pay for the administrative help. But all of a sudden, your business, like a hockey stick, starts taking off because the sales volume jumps dramatically because you're focusing your time, energy, effort, and talents in the dollar productive activity. Now we have a business and an organization that has the sales volume to where I can bring another person along. I can bring a buyer's agent in, and I have the business to support that person's lifestyle and goals without taking away from mine. The reason this doesn't work for a lot of people is because they don't follow the path. They don't follow the plan. They try to skip steps. And the reason your first 2 hires by the model are administrative help are those very reasons. It keeps your expenses fixed, and it keeps them fairly low, and it allows you to ramp up and build the sales volume, productivity, and revenue of your business so that as you're starting to bring salespeople in, you can pay them everything they want to make for their dreams and their goals without having it to be at your expense. You can still make what you want to make and hit your goals as well as you're building this business and this rocket ship is taking off. Now you're going to see, and we'll talk in subsequent videos, you're going to see the path, but it completely spells out who do I hire at what time. It completely gives us the roadmap here. That's why this is one of the most referenced pages in this book for me and has been for a number of years. We talked about when is the right time to hire. This shows you not only the when, but the who. And then together, these 2 things help us formulate the plan to know exactly what it's going to take for that to be possible, probable, and sustainable in our business. Look on page 203. In top of page 203, it says, in my experience, the average person thinks the goal of a business leader is to run a successful business. Well, I'm here to tell you it isn't. This is just the first goal of a business person. The ultimate business goal is to have a successful business run by other people. That's what we call having a 7th level business. Now, here's what we also know. You're never going to be able to build a big business, if you don't think big enough. And Gary talks about this in the beginning of this book. Think big, aim high. If you don't think big enough, you will never attract big thinkers into your world. And without attracting big thinkers into your world, you're never going to grow a business as big as you choose to or you could. So how big are you thinking? How big is your vision for what this business could become? How big are you thinking in terms of possibilities? Where's your ceiling of limitation or achievement? How big of a world are you creating? How big of a world with opportunities for those key leaders in your world are you creating? Because as long as they can get everything they want by being a part of your world, they'll never have a reason to leave you. Yet when their vision, their goals, their dreams get so big that they don't feel like they can accomplish it within your organization, you're going to lose them every time. So part of this process is not just creating systems and hiring people. Part of this process is growing yourself and growing your mindset, growing your skill set, and thinking big, thinking so big that it blows your mind, thinking so big that that drunk monkey on your shoulder challenges your thought process sometimes. Then and only then are we on the path, not only to attract, but most importantly, to keep incredible talent in our world. Now, bottom of 203, to do this, we're going to need to recruit. And what we know is a lot of sales agents have a good idea of how to do lead generation. They can find listings and they can find buyer clients. They've never been trained on how to find talent, how to find agents, how to find administrative help. And so what you see here on 203 is his brief list, and then it goes more in depth, which we're going to talk about, the 7 main sources for recruiting. The 7 main sources. They are ads, allied resources, job websites, temporary employment agencies, permanent employment agencies, other agents in your marketplace, and real estate schools. So then on page 204 and 205, he actually gives you a more in-depth breakdown. And we'll just go through these fairly quickly, but share a little bit of insight and some thoughts on these. The first one, ads, self-explanatory in my opinion, right? You're going to place ads that I have an opportunity. Now, this doesn't, again, think when the book was written, this was primarily looking at like newspaper ads. This also now could be Facebook ads. This could be a lot of different sources. Number 2, allied resources. As a team leader for Keller Williams and an office manager for a bigger brokerage before that as well, Allied Resources were my number one or number two source of recruits all years, every single year. Now, Allied Resources, what are we talking about? We're talking about title companies, escrow officers, title reps. We're talking about lenders, inspectors. Guys, the reason Allied Resources are so key is because these people are talking to a lot of agents every single week, a lot of agents. And so these people are on the front lines. These people know when there's an agent who is really good talent, who may kind of be frustrated in their current situation, or maybe looking for a different opportunity, or maybe needing better support or bigger support, or maybe would do better on a team. Your Allied Resources are a huge opportunity for recruiting talent. Number three, job websites. Right, in today's day, this could be like Indeed and Wise Hire. There's lots of them out there, Monster, lots of places you can go. But job websites, posting open positions on job websites or big job portal boards. Number four, temp agencies. Temp agencies can be a great solution, especially if you're unsure that you're going to be able to sustain the position or want to have the position long-term. If you're kind of wanting to just see how it goes, they can be a great option. Now, there's some drawbacks we don't have time to get into today, but they can be a really good option. Permanent employment agencies, the exact same way. Other agents in your marketplace, in my opinion, number 6 is probably the most underutilized on this list. Probably the most underutilized. Now, if you're an agent and you're already selling, which I'm assuming you are if you're wanting to build a team, you do a lot of deals with people and you have a lot of cross-sale agents. It's not difficult to have conversations with those people to say, hey, you know what? It was a great experience working with you. I'm so grateful to have done this deal and be able to help both of our clients come to a successful close. Thank you for your professionalism. It's always a great time doing a deal with you. Do you mind if I ask you one question? We're building a big business, and I just had to ask you, who do you know that I should know? Because I have opportunity right now for sales agents as well as administrative team. I'm always looking for talent, and I know that birds of a feather flock together, and you're incredible talent. I know you're probably not interested, and that's fine, but I know you might know somebody who is. So who do you know that I should know that might be interested? Other agents, guys, are a great opportunity to find talent in your marketplace. Most agents just don't have the conversation. And then number 7, real estate schools. Of course, real estate schools are a great resource as well. These people are getting licensed. They're getting into the business. They don't know what to expect. They don't know how it works. Can be a great opportunity to recruit. Now, page 205, he goes into the 9 major compensation options. Now, when you read through this, he says the 9 major compensation options takes in all the ways you're likely to compensate your people. Most likely, you use a combination of 2 or more of the options. So he's not saying you're going to use all 9. He's saying you'll probably use a combination of them, typically 2 or more. Okay, so high-level overview these. 205, salary. We know what salary is. What he says here that's important, distinctive, salary will be the primary source of compensation for your middle office and back office employees, right? So a lot of our administrative help will probably be on a salary of some sort. Now, number 2, commissions. This is really where our sales staff lives, right? A percentage of the GCI off the top is split with these people. Commissions is a big one. Now, in the middle of that, he says this. In general, buyer-agent commission split should be 50-50. Should you need to adjust them, your options here include, and he gives you bullet points. Bottom line, you can make variations however you choose, but what's interesting is, at the time of this book being written, all these agents that were interviewed, including those today who are very successful and were polled recently for a subsequent rewrite or an update on MREA, 50-50 still shows to be true and the right spot to be, the sweet spot for all considered. 50-50 still seems to be the right number. However, if you're going to vary it, he gives you bullet points there. Page 207, pay expenses. What he's talking about here is what expenses of our people are we paying for them versus what are they paying for themselves, right? And there's a lot of complexities to that. It depends if they're salaried versus commission, but that could be an option. That could be a variable or something that matters to somebody, right? And what I want to tell you guys too, as we're going through these things, understand that the money, the actual salary or the dollars earned every month isn't always the most important thing to people. And I'll tell you what I mean by that in a second. Number 4, bonuses. Bonuses can be paid monthly, quarterly, or annually. We favor the last. So what Gary's saying is he prefers annual bonuses. because at any point, quarter or halfway through the year, you just don't know what you don't know yet. You don't know how the year's going to shape up. Whereas an annual bonus is more safe for the company. It's more safe for you because it hedges against any unforeseen shifts in the market or big changes in the industry or anything like that that could impact the profitability of the company. Waiting until the end of the year and bonusing on the entire 12 months makes more sense. Now, profit sharing. Obviously, profit sharing is a very valuable tool. And yes, you don't have to be at KW. There are a lot of teams who do profit sharing too. Independent brokerages. Like there's a lot of ways that you can bonus on profit. The one thing he says in there, and you guys know this if you are with or have been with Keller Williams, you have to be open book if you're going to do profit sharing. Right? We have to be fully transparent. So what he says is if that makes you uncomfortable, then skip that one and do a variation or a combination of some of the others. Now, 6 is a retirement plan. Retirement plans are an option, okay? I've never done them before, but I know some teams that do. They get access to a retirement plan. What this is going to entail is you contributing a certain match or a percentage of what they put in every month. So probably not for everybody. Maybe for you, worth investigating, find a professional to talk to, but that is one option. Now, page 210. Insurance benefits. Now, this got progressively harder, and now I'm starting to see it become a little bit easier. And so what he says is, as with retirement plans, we recommend exploring a PEO or other outsourced group to handle this aspect of compensation. Here's what we're seeing. So healthcare has been on the move and on the change in the last 3-5 years, right? We've all seen that. We've all heard the debates on it. We've all seen that it's changing, and it has changed. It probably will continue to change more. What we're seeing is there are a number of groups popping up that will allow you, a small business based on number of employees, to partner with other small businesses and form a group who can then actually get access to somewhat affordable medical insurance. So if that's something you're interested in, there's lots of options out there, but that can mean a lot more to people than actually what they get paid. Having insurance benefits could mean the difference to a family and be worth more to a family than a $10,000 or a $15,000 difference in pay between your team and somebody else's, right? All we're talking about here is how do you make the most competitive compensation package? That's why he's saying it's going to be a combination of all of these, or some of them. Bottom of 210 and top of 211, vacation time and sick leave, right? So how many days we offer, how fast they recruit, do they get to carry them over, all of that stuff. But this is all procedural stuff that you want an admin to help you with, right? So again, points to the reason that person, that hire is so important. Bottom of 211, equity opportunities. Now here's the key, and he makes this point. Bottom of 211, top of 212. When he says equity opportunities, he's actually not saying giving them ownership in the team. He's saying creating opportunities for them to have equity in other venues or ventures or investment properties with you, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean giving them ownership in the organization. What it could mean is after a certain amount of time, you see talent and you want to really put the hook in them because you want to keep them in your world. They don't have to have ownership in the organization that you both work in together. However, you could very easily partner with them and give them ownership in rental properties or in businesses that you own, other businesses that you start. There's lots of ways equity opportunities mean something to people. Now, when I said I was going to talk more, I'm going to add a 10th here, and this is just Ben Fairfield. This is not Gary Keller, but Ben Fairfield's adding a 10th here because I have firsthand experience with this. I live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, right? The organization that I get the pleasure of leading with Cody Gibson is in Portland, Oregon. I don't live in Portland. So the 10th thing I'm going to tell you, and I would suggest you add to this list, excuse me, the 10th thing I would add to the list is remote working. Now, at the time of this book being written, remote working was not really a thing. And here's what I can tell you. Somewhat recently, I had a candidate who we have subsequently hired in our organization who's incredible talent, who had multiple offers for jobs in their respective field. And here's what I'll also tell you. Some of those offers were more money than I was able to offer this person for the same work. However, what I was able to offer that somebody else wasn't was a remote working situation. And for this person, this individual that I'm thinking of, that remote working environment, that remote working ability was worth more than the extra money that the other jobs were going to provide. So the 10th thing that I would add on there as you're thinking through this process, sometimes the flexibility of being able to work remote means a lot more than the paycheck. You still have to pay them, but it may not be as big of a deal to pay them as much as your competitors if you can offer more flexibility or a remote working environment. So the guy's bottom line, there's lots of ways you can come up with a competitive compensation plan or package. His whole point, I believe, in this section is that it does not just mean about how much money we're paying them. Get creative. Look at how you can put together the most comprehensive package possible for where you're at in your organization. And what I will tell you too is ask great questions. If you ask great questions, you're going to very readily find out what's most important to the talent you're wanting to hire. And then you can put together a package that speaks to their need and their want versus assuming that they want what everyone else wants, right? Huge, huge aha for me recently, and I hope it has been for you too. Now, 212, as we're wrapping this up. 212 under summing up compensation, I highlighted this paragraph. The fundamental principle behind the organizational model of the MREA agent is to find, hire, and retain talent. Looking for and identifying talent is always foremost in your people goals, no matter how spectacular your staff may be. What he's saying here, and I'm not done, but it's a caveat, what he's saying is no matter how good you think your team is today, you never get to stop looking for additional talent for those very roles as well. Here's what he keeps on saying. This idea of the never-ending talent search is called top grading. You never know when you may lose talent in your organization, so whenever great talent becomes available, you'd be wise to find a place for them in your company. Now, what he's not saying is ignore red light, green light, and just hire everybody that you see that's good talent. He's not saying that, so do not go there. Do not put that on him. He's not saying that. What he is saying is when you see talent, do everything you can to find a way in line with your budget and staying true to your model of your business. Do everything you can to find a place for them in your organization. Here's what we know. Great talent today could over time become good talent if you have even bigger talent coming around them. And it doesn't mean the people that got you here aren't going to be with you forever. And it doesn't mean that they can't be in a different position on the bus. What it means is as the organization grows and higher level and higher caliber talent is brought into the organization because the organization can afford it and attract it, that some of the people who were great and now are just good in their roles, well, if they're loyal and you like these people and they're committed to the company, it doesn't mean get rid of them. It may just mean shift what seat of the bus they're sitting in. Now, in closing, look at page 214. I love this. He says, top of page 214, we encourage you to become a student of these models before you personalize any of them for your own style and market. Applying creativity from a position of experience is much more productive than adding creativity first and then seeing whether or not it will fly. So guys, the organizational model, I know I say this about a lot of them. Man, it's important. It is an important part of this book. And talent is your key. Talent will always be your key. It will always be the ceiling of achievement for your growth of your organization. So spending time here, developing your roadmap, building out this model for your business, even if it's just you right now watching this video and you don't have anyone else in your world, build the roadmap out, fully build out the model, and good things come. Because now we know we're training our mind what to look for and what to prepare for. Now, next week, guys, on the call, next week, we are going through session 10, Net a Million, Leads and Listings, pages 217 through 233. Again, next session, session 10, Net a Million, Leads and Listings, pages 217 through 233 of the MREA Mastermind Book Club. Thank you guys so much for being on with us today. If you're not a part of our Facebook Mastermind group, look down below in the description. You'll see a link where you can join. We post lots of subsequent and extra material there, tools, videos, trainings. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out the other videos in the series if you haven't yet, and we'll see you next week.